The term the glass ceiling has held significance for women even before there was glass. There was always a limitation. But what if something came around that broke through that in some way? How would you feel to know that one of the most significant things to break through that ceiling for women was the glass of a camera lens? Yeah. Hi, it's Gretchen again. And today I want to talk a little bit about the impact of women in photography, but also of photography on the lives of women. And I think I'm going to start there. Women in history have early on were not always the artists. Early on, there weren't female painters that you hear so much about. There's a plethora of men that were painters and artists, not so many women. The same applies to photography. But in the early 1920s and 30s, there was a boom of women photographers. How did that come about? Well, it came about with the development of inexpensive handheld cameras like the Brownie camera. That introduction to that medium of that camera equalized, democratized photography, you might say. It gave an opportunity for women to have a hobby that was outside the house. They were able to become wedding photographers, hobby photographers. They were street photographers. They got out with their little inexpensive camera, and those Brownie cameras were as little as $8 or so. They ranged up to 30 or 40, but the inexpensive ones, the original Brownies, were far less than that. And it was something that the woman who was home in the 20s and 30s had a chance to go out and get one of these and go outside of her home and do something creative and different. So this little beauty is an early Kodak camera. It's a Duoflex 2, not quite the Brownie, but it would have been something very close to this that enabled women to get outside the traditional male-dominated studios. They got to capture everyday moments, friendships, things around them, landscapes, additional, whatever they wanted to, but it gave them that sense of self-expression and creativity in this wonderful little item. It's just was so much fun. From that point on, it exploded for women oftentimes. But it didn't start just with the Brownie camera. That's the other part of this through her lens. Some of the very first photographs were ever taken by women. In fact, in the, 1830s, there was a woman named Constance Fox Talbot. And she is considered the first woman to take a photograph. Her husband Henry Fox Talbot had invented the calotype photograph. So his wife was the first woman to actually take a photograph. From that, there was also another woman of equal significance, and that was Anna Atkins. And she was a botanist, and she used photographs in a completely different way. And she was the first woman to publish a book done in photographs. And she used cyanotype. It would have the blue aspect to it. And it's just fascinating to go back and to see what happened and the significance that these women had. For me, there are a lot of women that have impacted my love of photography. Not only, as I might have mentioned in an earlier show, my grandmother who gave me my first camera, and my great aunt, Susie, who was a photographer all through the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Man, even beyond her whole life. But pioneers and inventors like Julia Margaret Cameron, she kind of broke grounds with artistic portraits and just had this wonderful, softer image. But I think of two women in particular that held a lot of impact for me, and that's the work of Dorothea Lange and Imogen Cunningham. I had the opportunity one time to see a Dorothea Lange exhibit. I was in Oregon, in Newport, Oregon, and was walking along the street and saw a gallery that said Dorothea Lange exhibit. And my husband and I went in, and it was a free exhibit, and it had about 100 of her photographs. She did all that work during the Great Depression and photographed so many families of how the impact here in the Northwest and what was going on. Absolutely amazing. And the other lady was Imogen Cunningham. And, you know, I'm a girl from the Pacific Northwest, and Imogen Cunningham grew up here and had her studio here in Seattle. Just amazing work. I so enjoy finding out about them through my picture books and whatnot. Not only that, but I have this one, I have these two books, but I also love to look up other books and go into my resources. This Women Photographers is a favorite of mine, and Extraordinary Women with Cameras. But this book has so many great things to talk about. It gives me a chance to look at another viewpoint, because most of the books you'll find out there are of the Stieglitz and the Ansel Adams and the Minor Whites and the Henri Bruce, whatever, the men. But to find a book that talks about the women in photography, for me, it really touched my heart. And the fact that this little guy brought a whole new world to so many women and does so still today. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it so much. I'll be back next time with something new for you. You'll have a hint at it next. But until then, take a look around. Look up, look down, look all around. And keep looking for the beauty hidden in plain sight on your photographic journey.